Welcome back to the Through the Lane podcast on this glorious Saturday. I recorded yesterday, lost the whole recording. I did not record on my phone. Don't know what happened, right? Which is kind of good though because we had a wonderful slate of games last night in Georgia Tech going 8 overtimes. And right now, as we speak, Tennessee is losing 14-0 to Vanderbilt, which is great for us. But first, we're going to cover baseball. Blake Snell signed a 5-year, $882 million deal with the Dodgers. And Tommy Edman extended with them. A lot of the money is either signing bonus early on, so it won't count towards the yearly salary, or it's deferred at the start of 2030. But the thing I covered yesterday and the thing I'm going to talk about today is people want to see a salary cap in baseball, but there is. Every team has a max amount of money they can spend. It's just different in the market you're in. Outside of Miami. Miami, we don't know what they're doing because Miami's a big market. You think they have a lot of money, but they don't spend like it. So, teams like, let's say, the Rays, they don't bring in a lot of money. So they can't spend a lot. Like they're working under a budget where I think like the average salary they run a year is $120 million. You have the Dodgers running right now. We're going to get close to $400 million per year in salary. So it's just different on every team. Everyone says there wants to be a salary cap, and there is, but it's not like a enforced salary cap. Pretty much like the Yankees. You're hearing them right now. If you listen much about baseball, they want Juan Soto. Let me make sure this is working. It is recording. But they want Juan Soto, right? But the issue is they may not have enough money and to do it, and you're thinking, well, there's no, so you don't hear, some people don't really listen to that in baseball. But it's because they don't bring the revenue you bring in. Realistically, financially responsible, you can only spend so much of that revenue to keep an organization running. So what they did is they declined Anthony Rizzo's option. I suspect that DJ LeMahieu's out the door. Verdugo's gone. They've non-tendered a few guys to save some money to offer Soto a deal. But the thing is, you think New York would have that money. Well, no, they don't because they're up against their salary cap. Now, the Dodgers, we don't know what their salary cap is. So every team will pretty much come out and say what the max amount of money they're willing to spend on their team this year. Some is $280 million on player salary. Like I think the Padres was a few years ago. The Rays said it was like $150 million. And then some teams, this happened a lot. Some teams' salary cap lowers, i.e. the Twins. They win their division, they make a playoff run, but Diamond Sports goes bankrupt. It's a big team that covers all the games. They go bankrupt. What happens? The Twins have to cut back on payroll because they don't have the money to spend. And so what that causes that to happen is it's a semi-enforced salary cap. But it's different for every team. Now, some people say, well, let's have a salary floor. And I 100% agree because like Oakland and the Marlins, they run too small of a payroll. But some teams like, Chicago, there's other teams that are like the Mets. Also what plays a part in your salary cap is how much money your owner has and is willing to spend. Steve Cohen for the Mets, willing to empty his whole life savings out for it. And it's wonderful to see because it creates competitive teams. But at the same time, you don't need to spend a lot of money to do well. Look at the Rays. Look at some of these other teams, the Marlins 2 years ago. You need to be able to have a good scouting department and bring in the right players to fit a team, to build a team, and to do it. And then also have health breaker on your side. The Braves built this great team, right? A historic offense the year before. Injuries killed them. From the rotation to the bullpen to the lineup. Darn near everybody in that lineup had missed at least 5 games due to injury. So, injury plays part of it. I'm getting tired of hearing, we need a salary cap in baseball. No, you don't. It's just part of the way it goes in baseball. Some teams, because they're in a bigger marketplace, like Milwaukee's a small market. LA's a big market. And Atlanta is what I like to call a medium market. It's big, but it's not big enough to compete with like New York and LA, but it's not small. They still bring a lot of money. We don't talk about Miami. No one knows what the hell's going on in Miami right now. But yeah, there is a salary cap. It's just not enforced. Next up, college football bracket. And as of right now, Tennessee would be out. They're down 14-7 to Vanderbilt. And then Ohio State's playing Michigan. But it's right now Ohio State's playing Michigan. Tennessee's playing Vanderbilt. Ohio State's only up 3-0 Michigan. And then Clemson and South Carolina are playing. And that could really, if one of these teams, if Tennessee was to lose, the winner of South Carolina and Clemson is the last team in, I believe. I believe if South Carolina beats Clemson, they should be 12. South Carolina having an 8-3 record should be 9-2. They should have beat LSU, but they figured every way possible to lose that game. And Bama, like South Carolina, we're looking at a possibility here where they could have been 10-1, and it only be decided by like a few scores. I mean, let's look at this. Let's look at their schedule. I'm on Microsoft Bing, and this is the most annoying thing known to man. And it just gave me the option to switch back, and it just said, then I clicked yes, and it said no. But yeah, they beat Missouri, beat Wofford, Vanderbilt. I mean, they lose to Alabama by 2 points. They get mollywopped by Ole Miss, okay, and then they lose to LSU by 3 points. So you're looking at a South Carolina team that could be 10-1 if they by a margin of 5 points. They tried every way possible to lose those games. So you're looking at that. I honestly do think South Carolina is one of the better 12 teams in the league, but we're not going to really go into that. But if I can find the picture of it. Yeah, here it is. So the way the rankings go is Tennessee would play 8 Georgia, Oregon's the 1 seed, Boise State's the 4 seed, Ohio State would be the 5 playing ASU 12, Penn State would play Indiana at 11, and Notre Dame would play SMU at 10. Texas and Miami are the 2 and 3 seed. It's not that like the week before, and this is about to all change again because this pretty much week is solidifying who all is in. The championship weekend will be who gets the buys. But last weekend was a lot more exciting because you had all these SEC teams going to go to Big Ten schools in the winter. Now you have 2 SEC schools playing each other and 2 Big Ten schools playing each other. ASU would have to go to Ohio State, which would be extremely interesting. But I mean, you'll probably see a change. Everyone wants that 5 spot because you get either ASU or BYU, and then you get Boise State. And everyone loves Boise State, but like they don't really scare you. You stop the run, which a big school can, and you just take over the game. Outside of that, I think Georgia probably moves up over Notre Dame, maybe. And it just depends on what's going on over there. But I forgot what I ranted about last week. But it was something about Alabama and Oklahoma. How Oklahoma beat the crap out of Alabama, and it was a shellacking. And Jackson, they had no business doing that. And the SEC team has 10 teams, 9 or 10 teams are bowl eligible. 2 teams are just under 500 there. The other one's like about to be 500. Or no, it's Auburn. So you have Auburn, Kentucky, and Mississippi State. The rest of them are above 500 and are going to be bowl eligible. Tell me that's not a strong conference. But Jackson Arnold, like, threw under 100 yards ran for 100 and something, and beat Alabama. Alabama just could not stop them. It was a crazy weekend last weekend. Last night got off to a crazy start. Georgia went 8 overtimes against Georgia Tech.
And I just brought this from ears, little bitches that posted a month. Ryan, I'm in the can, little bitch, I'm much had to see I'm afraid of the sun. I went and paid in the bill, I switch shit up. I wanted it, nobody done. I don't phase of my family, my cup, my butter, my slime, my sweet, and my money. I'm doing both, just saying I don't listen to it, I don't want to hear about none. You know, we've got two white and raw bright shirt, yeah, what they calling them up. I'm about to bring this shit back and wait from the top at the time of the month. I'm about to do it and get better, do it and get better shit with a song. He gon' talk to Red, he gon' talk to the Beans, he gon' talk to the Schmitz, he gon' talk to the lid. I don't give a fuck you say, girl, you hear what I said. You got big boy downs on me, you got big boy bread. I don't give a fuck about the cool, yeah, put the bitch on test. You nigga make no money, that don't make no sense. And it's trying to cool, I'm about to trip out again. Jump out at the show, jump out at the show. Had to turn my phone, yeah, had to change the
In a wild game, Georgia really did not play well. They got out-physicaled, they could not tackle, they made mental errors with fumbling the ball, just could not hold on to the ball, but the seniors stepped up when they needed to. And this senior class has not lost at home. They won 31 straight home games, which is a record. And so it's just crazy. It was a crazy game to watch. I was at work watching this, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. Haynes King played out of his mind. Jamal Haynes, one of the better running backs in the country, he needs to be respected. Just because he goes to Georgia Tech does not mean he's not that good. That's a good team. Brent Key's done a great job with Georgia Tech. This is a team that beat Miami. It's the only loss Miami has. So, I mean, kudos to that team for what they've done, because years past, they've been getting mollywopped. And this year they haven't. Clemson did not score. Wow. But it was just a great game to see. Great game. I mean, it's going to go down as one of the greatest games of all time. Going 8 overtimes is crazy. The record's like 10, and it was Penn State, Illinois in 2021. It was wild. It was wild to me. It was great. I mean, there's not much to say about that. I think Georgia's now locked into the playoffs. Now it's who they can play for the number 1 seed. Texas plays Texas A&M to play Georgia in the SEC championship game. And really, Texas A&M is playing with house money. They can't make it unless they win the SEC championship game, which that'd be crazy. They beat Texas and then beat Georgia and get a bye. Which, honestly, A&M scares me more than Texas because they have a mobile quarterback, and Georgia struggles against stopping mobile quarterbacks. If a quarterback can run and throw all right, we're cooked. We're cooked. You've seen that with Milrow. You saw that with Dart. And you saw that with Haynes King. I think started out at A&M. And then Marcel Reed, who can run the ball really well and throws a good deep ball. Another one. Just give us problems. We had no business winning that game last night. You're down 17-0 at halftime, and you end up scoring 44 points and a half. It's unreal. It shows how explosive that Georgia offense is. I still think Oregon's the number 1 team in the country. I don't know who's 2, because it's probably Ohio State, and then 3 would realistically be Georgia, because Georgia's beating Texas, and Miami. I'm not sold on Miami, Penn State, Notre Dame, and the rest. But I mean, 44 points and a half. Well, yes, it took 8 overtimes, but you did not score 44 points in 1 half. They scored 27 points in 2 quarters, and then scored the rest in overtime. That shows how lethal that offense can be. when they want to. Georgia is a second half team. You have to blow them out in the first half to build yourself a margin, because in the second half, it's a whole different game. I don't know how it works as a fan, because like I don't understand that, how you can just flip a switch and it's two different teams, but it happens. Next up is we're going to talk about some. We're not going to look at next week's games or tomorrow's games. We're just going to look at the past games that have happened and some news that have came out. First off, the Bears and the Lions come. First off, Matt Eberflus is fired. He got fired yesterday, about an hour before I recorded, and it was needed. A report came out. Players were furious with him, and some of them they were reported to management, and things happened. There's 30-something seconds left. We'll talk about the rest of the game in a second. There's 30-something seconds left. It takes about 15 to 20 seconds to get the play call into Caleb Williams. Then he realizes the play clock's going down. He switches the play, throws that down and out ball. Matt Eberflus is like, no, we wanted that out ball down in the corner, and then we were going to call a timeout. Well, there were 7 seconds left. There's no way you can get that play in. And he sat there with the timeout. You throw an out route, you get in bounds because he just got sacked. You throw an out route. You're in field goal position. You call a timeout, or you go out of bounds. You can run another out route, get more yardage, call a timeout, maybe run the ball down the middle if he goes out of bounds on that second out route, get a few more yards, call a timeout with 3 seconds left, kick a field goal, you're going to OT. And with how that offense had been playing and how Detroit's offense had been playing, I would have taken Chicago in overtime. But what do? You don't even use the timeout. And it led to him being fired. And Thomas Brown is now the interim head coach. What a wild thing he was. He was a position coach to start the year. Gets promoted to OC when they fire Shane Waldron. Now he's the interim head coach. He's done a great job with the offense. It is damning that they had to shorten the playbook for Caleb Williams. But at the same time, he's doing well. He threw for 256 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did well. DJ Moore's finally getting the ball. That Detroit team, they're down 3 linebackers. Malcolm Rodriguez is hurt. They did sign David Long about a week ago. And then they just signed Kawan Alexander. So they're building it with veteran depth. Jack Campbell's still there, but you're down Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, Maven Reeves, and Malcolm Rodriguez. And, that's a depleted unit. And they lost more edge rushers. Zadarius Smith went down. Pascal went down. They don't have much depth there anymore. That defense has gotten mollywalked. And it's sad to see. They came out with a win. 16 of those 23 points came in the first half. Chicago didn't even score in the first half. They had under 100 yards of offense. And it looked like a butt kicking. But somehow Detroit just started, the offense stopped working. And Chicago's offense, Thomas Brown was calling up some great plays. Caleb Williams was making some great throws. That they've got potential. You just need to get a good head coach and address that offensive line, and then fix that defense. There's a lack of talent in the front 7 outside Javon Dexter that needs to be addressed. Go out and you draft someone high in the first round, because you're going to have a good first-round pick. You're 4-8 at this point. Your picks aren't going to be that good. Your picks are going to be really good. I think they should just tank the rest of the way. But it was the best game on Thanksgiving out of the other 2, and then we had the Raiders and Chiefs game, which was an eventful one in itself. But moving on to the next one, and another team that needs to clear house and should fire their head coach, and I full-heartedly believe this, is the Giants. The Giants are just a disgrace right now. They're the first team out of the playoffs. They're going to pretty much lock the number 1 overall pick. And it's just Drew Lock looked unprepared. He found out the day before. They couldn't run the ball. The whole left side of the offensive line is terrible. Dexter Lawrence is now hurt. You let go of the DPOY and Offensive Player of the Year. It's just been a terrible season. Brian Daboll lost the locker room. Joe Shane, I think he should have been fired when Hard Knocks came out. That was damning on him. It just doesn't look good. when that happens. The team, when you have a rookie, Malik Neighbors, speaking out, that means something. Let's be honest here. That shows that there's a lack of leadership in the room. You bench Daniel Jones, and you make him your fourth string QB, and then he hates it there so much that within a day of that happening, he asked for his release. Holy cow. It's so bad there. You've got a good running back in Tyron Tracy. You've got a number one receiver. You've got a 2 receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson, who's not even getting playing time. Jalen Hyatt, who they drafted 2 years ago, has not developed. They've not developed him, and that's on Dayball. I don't care if he's too thin or not. Devontae Smith has done it. You put him out there and let him do his magic. But you don't. It's pitiful. It's awful, and I know the score was 27-20, but it was a lot worse than that. You got mollywopped by the Cowboys. The only reason why you score is because the Cowboys took their foot off the throttle, and you have this. Some of the Cowboys fans are like, "Oh, we can make a run." There's no reason. You are the worst team in your division by far, and it's not even been close in the past few years. You keep having selections for a quarterback since Eli Manning has retired. You have yet to find his replacement, and it's awful. It is awful. They have failed to develop players. They have failed to treat their star players with respect when it came to Saquon Barkley, and now Malik Neighbors and Odell Beckham. They failed their players, and it's terrible. They are a joke of an organization, and they've got to clear house. And then you look at this Dallas team, and DeMar Overshown played out of his mind. He gets like a sack and a pick. He was making big plays left, right, and center. And DeMarvin Overshown had 9 tackles. Now, the Cowboys did lose a corner, and they're going to have to address that corner spot in the draft, probably in the first round. But Michael Parsons had a sack and a half. This Giants defense is solid. They hit on so many first-round picks, and I'm going to adjust. Once finals are over, I'm going to fix the rookie rankings, and I'm going to start releasing my mock drafts. I'm not 100% sure if there's going to be an episode coming out during dead week or finals week. Just not sure. Just depends how busy it gets. But the Cowboys didn't blow me away. They had 195 yards passing, ran for 122. Rico Dow had himself a game. Kevontae Turpin was pretty much the game changer. CeeDee Lamb was held to 2 catches for 39 yards, and that is great. Their defense did what you want them to do, but you still somehow figured a way to lose. All right? Kevontae Turpin had a big 30-yard run, and that kid is fast. That kid, he is the fastest guy in the NFL. But, they just didn't. They just didn't play well. It's an awful organization. The Cowboys are awful in themselves. I don't know why the Cowboys aren't tanking to get a high pick to address a need. Travis Hunter would do so much for them, and I know they're too far out now to get Travis Hunter, but you need a number 2 receiver. You get one, Travis Hunter. You need another corner to put opposite of Trayvon Diggs and Daron Bland. You get one. You're not going out and doing it. But it's just sad to see for the Giants. I just don't understand. Sorry, I had a brain fart. The episode yesterday ran an hour long. Today's episode, because college football is happening and we have so many great games early on, will probably be about 40 minutes tops, 45 minutes tops. Right now. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at games here. Tennessee's losing 7-17 to Vanderbilt, and they're going to have to punt, which is huge. So, it's just the Giants. I mean, I don't know where you go with this. You've got to clear house. You've got to secure your franchise quarterback this year. Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, maybe Carson Beck. You've got to lock it in, right? You've got to lock it in and find it. When you take that pick, you have to find them. And honest to goodness, when it comes draft time, Joe Shane should not be around there because of the moves he makes. He will set his quarterback up for failure. Then what you do is you draft somebody in the second round that is a lineman. This tackle class is weak. So you go out and you get a guard and you sign a tackle, right? Because your right side of the line is fine. Left side is trash. Evan Neal is a bust. You've got to cut him. Again, another failure of Brian Daboll. Guy that didn't develop. I don't know what it's got to take for you to fire Brian Daboll. I'm convinced they just won't fire him in season for whatever reason, right? Oh, Tennessee turned over on downs. Vanderbilt can go up 24-7. Is Tennessee? That is awesome. That is fantastic. But to stop beating the head on the Giants, because we'll cover them in the offseason, especially when I have more time. I mean, they're so bad, dude, and it is sad. Tyron Tracy's good. They've got their tight end of the future. You've got Malik Neighbors. You've got a 2 or 3 Wandell. Fix your offensive line. Your front seven's pretty good. And your second, that defense is a top 15 defense. So you just got to go fix the offense. And if I'm the Giants, I'm unloading so many picks at the receiver position, at the offensive line position, and at the linebacker position. And I'm just saying, let's see how it pans out. 3 guys. Quarterback, lineman, and maybe a linebacker or receiver. I need 3 of them. But that's that for that game. And the last game, which I didn't see, and, it was a disappointing game. Tua played well. As Miami lost 17-30. They're 5-7 now. Green Bay's 9-3. That NFC North division, you have to win every game. Because the Vikings are 10-2. The Lions are 11-1. And Green Bay's 9-3. There's no room for error. But this Miami Dolphins team, they can't run the ball. Tua got sacked 5 times. He played well though, so he beat the cold allegations himself. The offensive line and running back room did not. They also did not sack the passer at all. There's a sack difference of 5-0, you're losing that game every day, any day of the week. Any day of the week. And this receiving room for Green Bay is pretty good. I love how Jaden Reed consistently gets a rushing attempt every game. Who's Chris Brooks? Is that their backup running back? He is. They've got 4 running backs that they can play. Josh Jacobs did not run the ball himself that well. It was very cold there, but they got the job done. And they played without Romeo Doubs. Luke Musgraves did not get a catch. So, that's huge. Jordan Love played 21-28 for 2 touchdowns, 274 yards, 0 sacks, QBR of 84.4. Great. Did a great job of the game. I didn't watch this game much, so... But on to the last NFL game, and it's Las Vegas versus the Chiefs. Vegas should have won, fumbled the ball to end the game, and the Chiefs clinched their spot. And this Vegas team, I think, is arguably another worst team in the league. Maybe the worst team in the league, and I think it's on Antonio Pierce. He may get fired because of how bad they are. They had Zamir White, supposed to be their starting running back. He is falling out. They don't even play him anymore. And they've got this cat from UTSA, Sincere McCormick, who's now... they're rotating through running backs. Amir Abdullah is leading the team in rushing. And he hasn't been running the ball consistently since, I mean, he's going to pass his 2021 rushing totals. So 2017, 7 years ago. And now he's being used as a main back. That's how bad this team is. Brock Bowers, though, Brock Bowers, let's look at his stats. 84 catches, 884 yards, 4 touchdowns. He is third in the NFL in receiving yards. He's first in receptions, and he's 28th in touchdowns. And if he's on a better team, he has more touchdowns. I mean, this is a guy who's in the Rookie of the Year conversation. But outside of Brock Bowers, this Raiders team has a bunch of maybe number 3 receivers playing the number 1. Jacoby Myers is a good low-end number 2, great number 3. Trey Tucker, good number 3. DJ Turner, maybe a number 3. Michael Mayer, falling out of it. And then you got Terrence Marshall, who's supposed to be good, but hasn't developed. Defensively, though, Max Crosby had a sack. Caleb Von Chaselon did. That's about it. Tyrese Wilson has not developed like they hoped he would. At all. And it is sad. It is honestly sad. For the Chiefs, Chris Jones had 2 sacks. Karlaftis had a sack. Karlaftis is one of the more underrated edge rushers in the game, and it's because he plays with Chris Jones. But Karlaftis will give you 10 sacks a year, and that's pretty good production. It's great value they got in 2022 out of the first round spot. D-Hop led the team in receiving. Xavier Worthy's starting to play better. Pacheco came back, and he split carries with Kareem Hunt. And Mahomes played probably his best game of the year. He was sacked 5 times. QBR was a 45.7, but he still did pretty well. Brock Bowers had a carry for 2 yards. It's just, man, you fumble, and it's just a joke. I mean, this team is so bad. They're just so awful that it's not even funny at this point. But I mean, they're going to be fighting for it. They're going to either get Cam Ward or Schroeder, maybe Carson Beck. I mean, Carson Beck has played 2 really good games at the end of the season. He's got 2 more ahead of him in the SEC championship game and at least another bowl game. So he can put more tape out there. And if he finishes the year strong, I mean, he's doing stuff where you're like, yeah, I see why he was projected to go number 1 overall. I think this year he has more passing touchdowns this year than he did last year. I don't know if he'll pass the passing yards, but I mean, he has 28 passing touchdowns to 24 last year, but he did double the picks, and that's a major issue. He's not running the ball as well this year as he did last year, but he's still running the ball. I like to see him put his body on the line. He's completing his passes 7% less, but still, he's still playing pretty well. It's just an interesting thing. It's just an interesting thing to see. But, I mean, the Raiders got to. I mean, you get a good quarterback, and then you draft a receiver early in the second round, and you hope and pray that guy's your number 1. You sign a receiver, maybe a D-Hop, and then you run forward with this team and see what you can do. Looking at the scores, Vanderbilt got picked off. South Carolina's tied with Clemson. And Michigan is beating Ohio State. If Ohio State loses, they will fall back in the later rounds. That may hurt Indiana, but that's big. It's big games to start the day. And hopefully I'm done with this before halftime, so I can watch the second half of these games. Now, the rookie rankings, Bo Nix has played well. I want to talk about those real quick. Bo Nix has played well. He's going to go up. Tyrone Tracy and Bucky Irving are going to rise. Brian Thomas, maybe not. Keelan Coleman's going to drop. Verse is going to drop. Fisk is going to rise. Andrew Phillips from the Giants is going to rise. There's 2 defenders in Cameron Kitchens and Jalen McCullough are going to enter the top 30. Jalen McCullough has 4 interceptions as an undrafted free agent, so he's going up. Once school's out, I can put more time into this, and these lists are going to be better. So I'll put more effort into it. Oh, and then Nico just got picked off by Vanderbilt. What a game we have. What a game we have. Nico is the most okay. Side note, and then we're going back to the NFL. Nico is the most overrated quarterback in the SEC. 12 of his 15 touchdowns came against the first few opponents they played. All opponents were under 500. Every other SEC team he's played outside of Mississippi State, he's thrown 3 touchdowns. Now 4. And he's 4 touchdowns, 5 picks now. That's not good. That is not good numbers. Without Dylan Sampson, they're not that good. But back to the rookie rankings. And we're going to segue into basketball a little bit. You'll see kind of Jaheim Battle rise up. Zachary Richardson and Carrington drop a little bit. The NBA rookie rankings is going to change a lot outside of the top 2. Football-wise, Jaden Daniels may fall. I think Brock Bowers is probably the rookie of the year just because of, he's breaking records. He's going to break the receptions record from a rookie tight end. He's probably going to, he's going to go over 1,000 yards receiving. He's going to get like 6 touchdowns. What you can look at them and be like, yeah, not rookie of the year. It would just be ridiculous to not think that. And the Heisman race, before we go to basketball, the Heisman race, Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter, and both had great games yesterday. I believe it's Ashton Jeanty narrowly because he's elite at his position. Travis Hunter is not elite at either of his positions. He's not on the award paths. Now Travis Hunter is like top 5 in the nation in receiving touchdowns, and that's crazy. I think Travis Hunter is a top 3 pick. But he's not that elite of a defender. He's more of he'll make it. Deron Blaine, he'll get blown up at times, but he'll make a spectacular interception. And so I think you look at that, he's not elite at both positions. You also take him off that Colorado team, and Colorado is still good. They're not going to be great, but they're still good. They're still above 500, maybe at 500. You take Ashton Jeanty off Boise State, and Boise State is horrible. Horrible. It is just a bad team. It's really bad. But ending the football talk, because I'm doing this on a Saturday, and we're behind on some things. But next up, NBA, right? The Bucks have climbed up. They're 99 now. Actually, we had some games happen last night. 99. The Heat are 5. The Magic are 14-7, and they're great, and they still don't have Paolo Banchero yet. And the Hawks beat also, side note, the Hawks are 9-11. They beat the Cavs twice. The Hawks are an interesting team. They've lost to the Pistons and the Wizards, but they've also beat the Celtics and the Cavs. They make no sense. And Trae Young is the most underrated point guard in the league, and I stand by that. He's averaging 20 points on like 12 assists, and it's bad efficiency, so imagine when he gets his efficiency back up. We're saying 27, 12. He's a Walmart Steph Curry. And that's still pretty good because Steph Curry is a top 5 player of all time. All right. The Pistons, 9-12. The Bulls, 8-13. And they're looking, most of the players are for sale. And this team is so bad. And it is so bad. They have too many point guards. I don't understand the roster construction. They signed Javon Carter when they had no use to, and he's a good bench player. Lonzo Ball needs to get traded. Dosunmu needs to get traded. He has no place on this team. The Sixers, 3-14. The Wizards, 2-15. This East is terrible. But this Bulls team at 8-13, they've got a clear house. Vucevic, Levine. Maybe you build around Kobe White and Bukic and Josh Giddey. But I just don't see it. I see you clearing house and you keeping Giddey and Bukic and you just... Mastis, I'm calling him Mastis. I can't say his last name. And you build around them both. Because Dalen Terry's a whiff of the first-round pick. You're not going anywhere. You're already 8-13. We're not going to get better. There's no trades you can make. You have way too many point guards. You don't have enough forwards. This is just a bad team. It's just a bad team. And it's just bad. The Pistons are getting better, 9-12, and they just got Asar Thompson back. That's great for them. The Pacers, 9-11. They need a backup center. I don't know who they go out and get. The Nets spent with Ben Simmons. I mean, this Nets team just keeps getting hurt, but Ben Simmons, most overpaid player in NBA history. There's no, looking back on it now, it's two different players, and it's aggressiveness and it's attacking the rim. I don't know how we got to that point where we paid him so much money in the NBA. It's like a fever dream because like a year later, Hackabin comes out and he plays like dog cheeks. And looking at the whole trust the process and Sixers thing, it's so bad. And the Sixers should just blow it up too. And you keep Maxey and McCain. Embiid, I mean, a report came out that this has always been an issue with Embiid, with him showing up. Another report came out said that his knee's about to start deteriorating, right? Which means he's only going down. You trade him now. You recuperate first-round picks, and you rebuild about behind your electric duo in the backcourt of Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey. Paul George is just Tobias Harris. I mean, he did 14 points a game with terrible efficiency. And Tobias Harris has played every game for Detroit. And he rebounds. What does Paul George do? Not defense that apparently lately. This team is just bad. I mean, it's just they're just bad. But you need, I mean, they just need to restart their team. I think you recuperate some picks for Andre Drummond. You could probably get a few seconds. And Yabi Shelley, get a few seconds for them. And second-round picks are valuable. Look at the Raptors. They've got 3 second-round picks, and they're playing out of their minds. Second-round picks can win you championships. Like Norman Powell, second-round pick. Jokic, second-round pick. They can be great players if you hit on the head with them, and some of them go on to be all-time greats. Draymond Green, second-round pick. Hall of Fame, fringe Hall of Famer. So, you just got to blow it up from there. Looking at the West, and the Hawks, we'll talk about this. They're a good team. They need to upgrade at the center position. The wing is now a strength with Rishai playing well, and Hunter playing out of his mind when Hunter is healthy, and then Bogdan playing well. We have him back at point guarding Kobe Bufkin, Keaton Mitchell, and VT Gricic. I mean, there's depth there. You just need someone to replace Capella. And I like a Kungwu, as are my Montrezl Harrell type of guy with energy and electricity off the bench. So I need a better center. Hopefully they address that in the draft. But you need to go out and do that now. Jalen Johnson, fringe all-star. 20, 10, 5, 1, and 1 with 1 steal, 1 block a game, 5 assists, 10 rebounds, 20 points. I mean, you can't make it up. It's great stats from him. It's put them in contending. Right? Now, the Western Conference, the Thunder are getting healthy, and that's scary. The Rockets look pretty good. The Warriors slowing down, but I think once they can figure it out a little bit more, figure out the rotation, they'll be better. The Nuggets, Jamal Murray hasn't looked the same since he came back from injury. He has his moments in the playoffs, but to get to the playoffs, you need a good regular season. The Lakers, Dog Connect, he's shooting at the rookie board. He's been lights out, double-digit points on great efficiency. Just unreal playing for them. JJ Redick's put him in the starting lineup. They lost last night. They're 11-8, but I mean that's still pretty good with what we saw at the end of last year. They had no business being 11-8. The Mavericks, their backcourt's ravaged with injuries. They need to upgrade at either center or not center, power forward. And Klay Thompson looks old. He's like 14 points a game on mid-efficiency. I mean, hopefully he gets traded back to the Warriors on the last year of his deal, and he ends a Warrior. Takes 2 years away from Golden State, and then he comes back. That is the ideal scenario. The Clippers, Kawhi, I will say this again, if Kawhi does not play this year, he's not a Hall of Famer. I think he has to play if he wants to be a Hall of Famer. But I think if he doesn't play, they don't end up making the playoffs on the stretch. They end up being a play-in team because there's not much depth there. I mean, this team, they're going to have to blow it up soon. They are almost like the Bulls, but I mean, they have James Harden, and then they had the hope of Kawhi Leonard coming back. But Kawhi can't stay healthy. So that's another issue, right? The Suns, They're better than last year. They got more depth. And then the Spurs. And 10-9, you better watch out. This team is coming. Victor Wembanyama's coming. I said he could put up unreal stats. He can be the greatest player we've ever seen and watch play basketball. And he's putting up 35, 16, 4, and 7 blocks. And it's unreal. And then he'll give you 57 and 4. And you're like, this offensive dominance. The game for him is becoming unreal. And then Stephon Castle is developing into their future point guard with Chris Paul developing in them. Their offseason went perfectly. They signed Chris Paul early in the year because they're like, we're going to need you to develop. At the time, Blake Wesley and Trey Jones. Then Stephon Castle falls to them. They had also drafted Rob Dillingham, but again, they had too many guards. So what do a team that is smart about that does? Trade them. Because they're like, we've got too much here. Let's trade him, get a first-round pick in the future. When that Timberwolves could be trash, or we can just use it down the road to trade and get a package. Let's get that pick. They trade him to the Timberwolves, and he's finally now playing with the Timberwolves. But they get Stephon Castle, who has great upside, right? This draft class won't have many superstars, but they're going to have a lot of stars. And there are a lot of great role players. And this is going to be a deep draft class. But you get Stephon Castle, and he's playing great basketball. He's shooting up the rookie leaderboard. I mean, fantastic basketball. I'd put him probably top 5 behind Dalton Connect, Zach Edey, and Jared McCain. No one's beating Jared McCain. I mean, he's averaging 16.5 points a game. I mean, they played last night, and so did the Lakers. So I want to look at Dalton Connect stats. Dalton Connect's up to 12.2 points a game. He may pass Edey, but then Jared McCain up to 16.5 points on 45% from the field, 37% from 3. He's shooting great. He's just playing well. But the Lakers point guard D'Angelo Russell recently confirmed rumors that he'd have interest in playing for the Lithuanian national team. Random things on Basketball Reference, but I mean, Jared McCain's going nuts. Edey's looking good. Stephon Castle, you've got your future 1-2, right? Probably figure out who's going to be your small forward of the future, but you also have Devin Vassell, who looks like a future piece. Keldon Johnson, I believe, should be traded for another first-round pick or a few seconds, okay, or a developmental player, right? You've got Jeremy Saskatchewan, who could be a good 4. So you've got your 1, 4, and 5. Maybe your 2 if you believe Devin Vassell belongs to the team long-term. He could be a great trade piece for the future, right? So you just got to address your 2 and a 3. And that team's scary. I mean, they're already scary as is. I mean, what can you do to stop this team, right? And this Spurs team is wild. Wembanyama, in a lot of people's eyes, is the MVP leader. And then also, Greg Popovich is out right now. God bless him, he had a stroke. When he retires, the guy that's the interim right now, if I'm San Antonio, paying him all the money in the world so he stays. And he is the heir apparent to that team. Right? They still have Trey Jones. Malik Branham can be the future 2 guard. Julian Champagne looks pretty good. Harrison Barnes is a good pickup. He's averaging 12 points a game on 52% from the field. Victor Wembanyama is averaging 23.4 points, 3.6 blocks, 1.3 steals, 3.1 assists, 10 rebounds on 47% from the field, 44% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line. It's unreal. Chris Paul's yet to miss a free throw. Stephon Castle's averaging 11.5 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, about a steal a game. Yes, he's shooting at 40% from the field, but it's only getting better, and he started 12 games now. All right. Devin Vassell looks great. He's 24, though, so he's getting a little bit older. Do you believe he fits that timeline? Keldon Johnson, he's already in his extension a good bit. I believe you trade him, right? Because, he's been coming off the bench now, unless you believe he's a great sixth man of the future. Jeremy, 15.4 points. It's pretty good. 51% from the field, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal a game. You like what you see from that. This Spurs team is dangerous. They are a dangerous team, right? Then next, the Timberwolves. And they're the last thing I want to cover before I end today's episode. And let me look at the scores real quick. Ohio State still losing. Tennessee still down 7 to 17. And South Carolina still tied with Clemson 7-7. Okay? So, the Julius Randle, they don't talk in the locker room. Anthony Edwards confirmed. Julius Randle just does not fit the team. I never understood that whole trade. He was one of the last guys you wanted on that team. Okay, Cat fit that thing so well, and I get it. The future with the cap situation 2 years down the line is going to be an issue, but you at least run it back for another year. You draft someone in the first round who's going to be his heir apparent, but you don't. You draft Terrence Shannon and you trade for Rob Dillingham, and you keep Dillingham out of the rotation till just now, and he's scoring pretty well. Not many points, but when he plays, he gives you a lot of points. Terrence Shannon's not playing. Could have got a power forward to develop. Like Jacoby Walker, if he fell that far. I want to look at. I want to look at this draft class, and I want to see, did they miss on a power forward? Ryan Dunn. Kyle Filipowski. Kyle Filipowski would have been nuclear on this Timberwolves team. Now, yes, you have all those issues with his girlfriend, and so she's like Mormon or whatever, I think. It's odd, so she goes to Utah. But you miss out on a guy who, hell, would have fit well. You miss out on Jalen Wells, Osho Agamnagini, Pele Larson, Jamal Sheed. Ariel Hakapori. You miss out on so much to draft Terrence Shannon. Ryan Dunn would have been great for them. Great. They could have used Ryan Dunn, and he'd be that four. But yet, you trade away Cat. You get Dante DiVincenzo, who's been very inefficient. Dante DiVincenzo, let's be honest, does not want to be in Minnesota. He loved it in New York. And I think this is hurting New York with depth. They are not very deep. They're deep at the 5, but they're not deep at the guard position like they were last year. They don't have that camaraderie that they have had. Yes, they are the third team in the West or in the East, but it's not a good third team. They're the fourth. They're 11-8. You added a guy that's injury prone in Cat, who cannot play a lot of minutes. He's going to get in a lot of trouble. Right? Foul trouble. It just made no sense. Julius Randle is a liability on defense. He cannot gut shoot with his left hand. He's not clutch. He does not come up in big moments. It was a terrible decision. It split the locker room when it happened, and it caused it to be weird in New York. And I just believe that they've killed the team. Now you're probably going to have to do a mini reset because Jaden McDaniels has not developed like you wanted him to this year. Rudy Gobert is the most empty-stated player I've ever met. They just blew it. And it's sad to see. I wish it did not happen like that, but they blew it. They blew it. And I don't know where you go from there. But this episode went 7 minutes longer than I wanted it to. But that's it for today's episode. I'll see y'all next time.
my blinking tongue. Yeah, number one up on the chart, yeah, still the one. All we do is just go number one. And I just brought this from ears, little bitches that first of the month. Riding around, I'm in the can, little bitch, I'm much heard to see, I'm afraid of the sun. I went and paid in the bill, and switch shit up, I wanted it, nobody done. All on my face, my family, my cup, my brother, my slime, my sister, my mom. I'm doing both, what you're saying, I don't listen to it, I don't wanna hear about none. You know what got too hard, yeah, bro, bright shirt, yeah, what they calling them up. I'm about to bring this shit back in, wait from the top at the time of the month. I'm about to do it and get better, do it and get better shit with a song. He gon' talk to Red, he gon' talk to the beats, he gon' talk to the Schmitz, he gon' talk to the lid. I don't give a fuck you say, girl, you hear what I said. You got big boy downs on me, you got big boy bread. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about the cool, yeah, put the bitch on test. You need a man no money, that don't make no sense. And it's trying to cool, I'm about to trip out again. Jump out at the show, jump out at the show. Had to change my flow, yeah, had to change the